Right now, someone less skilled than you is getting promoted. Someone less qualified is winning. Someone who doesn't deserve it is taking what should be yours. And you're still waiting, still playing fair, still believing hard work will be enough. It won't. The world doesn't reward the best people. It rewards the strategic people. And if you don't understand power, you'll spend your life watching others take everything. 500 years ago, a man watched this happen in Italy. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli. He saw talented men destroyed, honest leaders overthrown, skilled people crushed. And he asked one question: why do some people rise from nothing while others with everything fall? The answer wasn't talent, it wasn't luck, it was strategy. Today, you're going to learn Machiavelli's 12 laws of gaining power. These aren't theories. These are the exact tactics that built empires and destroyed kingdoms. This isn't about being evil. This is about refusing to be powerless. Before we start, I want you to drop this in the comments right now. I refuse to stay powerless. Say it. Because when you commit in writing, you change. Let's begin. Law number 1. Never build from zero. You've been told a lie your entire life. They say, start from scratch, build your own thing, be self-made. Machiavelli says, that's how you waste 10 years. Think about every successful person you know. Did they really start from zero, or did they take something that already existed and make it theirs? Here's what happens in most people's careers. They have an idea. They spend months building something completely new. They work alone. They refuse help because they want it to be theirs. And 5 years later, they're exhausted with nothing to show. Smart people don't do this. Smart people look for foundations that already exist. They find systems that work. They take over positions that have power, and they build on top of what's already there. Let's say you want to start a business. Most people spend 2 years creating a product from scratch, building a customer base from zero, figuring out operations. But you could buy a struggling business for cheap, fix the problems, and have revenue on day 1. Same result. 2 years faster. Notice the difference. The first person works alone for years with no guarantee. The second person inherits a system, fixes it, and wins immediately. This doesn't mean stealing. This means being strategic about where you put your energy. Think about this in your current job. You want more responsibility? Don't create a new project from nothing. Take over a project someone else abandoned. Rescue something that's failing. You get credit for saving it instead of risking failure on something untested. Here's another example. You want to build influence? Don't try to create your own following from zero. Align yourself with someone who already has influence. Make yourself valuable to them. When they rise, you rise with them. Smart people understand that the fastest path to power is inheritance, not creation. When you practice this law, opportunities appear everywhere. Every abandoned project is your foundation. Every struggling system is your chance. Every person with existing power is a potential partner. Remember this. The people who waste time building from zero are still struggling. The people who inherit and improve are already winning. Law number 2. Strike when they're weak. Here's something most people get wrong about timing. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait until everything is stable. They wait until everyone is ready. Machiavelli says, "The perfect moment is when your opponent is weak." Think about the last time you wanted to ask for something at work, a raise, a promotion, a new opportunity. When did you ask? Probably when things were calm and organized. Here's what happens in most situations. Someone waits until the boss is comfortable, until the company is stable, until everything is perfect, and then they ask for what they want. Smart people do the opposite. Smart people watch for weakness. When your boss is overwhelmed with a crisis, that's when you offer to help. When your company is losing a key employee, that's when you position yourself as the replacement. When your competitor is dealing with problems, that's when you take their customers. Let's say your department is restructuring. Half the team is panicking, managers are stressed, everything is chaotic. Most people hide and hope to survive. But you volunteer to lead the transition. You take on the abandoned responsibilities. You solve the problems no one else will touch. Notice the difference. The person who waits for stability never gets noticed. The person who acts during chaos becomes indispensable. This doesn't mean kicking people when they're down. This means recognizing that power moves into vacuums. When someone is weak, there's space for you to fill. Think about your personal life too. You want to change your relationship dynamic? Don't try when everything is perfect. That's when people resist change. Wait until there's a natural moment of uncertainty. That's when new patterns form. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Everyone is weak sometimes. Your boss, your competitor, your rival. The question isn't whether they'll be weak. The question is whether you're watching when it happens. Smart people understand that timing isn't about waiting for perfect. It's about recognizing opportunity in chaos. When you practice this law, you start seeing openings everywhere. Every crisis is your moment. Every weakness is your chance. Every transition is your opportunity. Remember this. While others wait for perfect conditions, you move when conditions favor you. That's the difference between people who plan forever and people who act and win. Law number 3. Destroy competition completely. This is where most people fail at power. They win once and think it's over. They beat a rival and show mercy. They defeat competition and let them survive. Machiavelli says, if you're going to hurt someone, make sure they can't recover. Think about your workplace. You've seen this happen. Two people compete for the same position. One person wins, and what do? They try to be nice to the person who lost. They offer to work together. They show mercy. Here's what happens in most situations. The winner feels guilty. They don't want to seem cruel, so they let the loser stay close. They try to turn the competition into friendship. And 6 months later, that person is still there, quietly undermining them, waiting for revenge. Smart people understand that wounded enemies are more dangerous than strong ones, because now they know your tactics. Now they're motivated by resentment. Now they're watching for your weakness. Let's say you're competing with someone for a promotion. You get it. What do most people do? They try to smooth things over. Hey, no hard feelings, let's work together. But the other person is thinking, I'll get them next time. Notice the difference. The person who shows mercy creates a permanent enemy. The person who removes the threat completely never has to worry about revenge. This doesn't mean being cruel for fun. This means understanding that incomplete victories guarantee future problems. Think about this in your career. You have a colleague who constantly takes credit for your work. You confront them once, they apologize, things seem better. But 3 months later, they're doing it again. Why? Because you didn't remove their ability to do it. Smart people don't just win the battle, they make sure there's no second battle. If someone is working against you, you don't wound them, you remove their power completely. You document everything, you build an undeniable case. You make sure they can't stay in a position to hurt you. Here's another way to think about this. When you're restructuring your life, your career, your business, don't make small cuts over time. Make one big, decisive cut. Fire the person who's holding you back. Leave the relationship that's draining you. Cut the client who's costing more than they're worth. When you practice this law, you stop having the same problems over and over, because you solve problems completely instead of temporarily. Remember this. Half victories create permanent enemies. Complete victories create peace. The people who show mercy to threats spend their lives fighting the same battles. Law number 4. Make yourself necessary. Here's what most people misunderstand about job security. They think being good at their job makes them safe. They think hard work protects them. They think loyalty matters. Machiavelli says, the only security is being impossible to replace. Think about the people in your company who never worry about being fired. Are they the hardest workers? Are they the nicest people? Or are they the ones who know something no one else knows? The ones who control relationships no one else has? The ones who manage systems no one else understands? Here's what happens in most careers. Someone works hard. They do quality work. They stay late. They help everyone. And then the company has budget cuts and they're gone in 5 minutes. Why? Because hard work is replaceable. Necessity isn't. Smart people don't focus on being good. They focus on being essential. They position themselves as the only person who can solve specific problems. They become the bridge between departments. They build relationships that belong to them, not the company. Let's say you work in sales. Most salespeople focus on hitting targets. But you build personal relationships with the biggest clients. Not the company's relationships, your relationships. When clients say, I only work with you, you've made yourself necessary. Notice the difference. The person who's just good can be replaced by someone else who's good. The person who is necessary cannot be replaced because removing them breaks the system. This doesn't mean holding companies hostage. This means making your value undeniable. Think about this principle everywhere. In your family, are you the person who solves problems? The person who keeps everyone connected? That's necessity. In your friend group, are you the organizer, the one who makes things happen? That's power through necessity. Here is a specific example. You're in a meeting. A problem comes up. Everyone looks around. Do they look at you? If yes, you've made yourself necessary. If no, you're replaceable. Smart people understand that loyalty means nothing. Skill means something, but necessity means everything. When they can't function without you, they can't get rid of you. When you practice this law, you stop worrying about job security, because you're not hoping they'll keep you. You're making it impossible for them to let you go. Remember this. Hard workers get laid off. Necessary people get raises. The difference is whether the system breaks when you leave. Law number 5. Control the narrative early. Here's something that will change how you see new situations. The first story people hear about you becomes permanent, even if it's wrong, even if you prove otherwise later. Machiavelli says, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Think about the last time someone new joined your workplace. Within the first week, people decided who they were. That person's confident. That person's quiet. That person's a hard worker. And 6 months later, everyone still sees them that way, even if they changed. Here's what happens in most situations. Someone starts a new job. They think, I'll keep my head down. I'll let my work speak for itself. People will figure out who I am. And by the time they try to show their value, everyone's already decided they're invisible. Smart people control the narrative from day one. They don't wait to be discovered. They actively create the first impression they want, and that impression sticks for years. Let's say you're starting a new position. Most people show up, sit quietly, learn the ropes, but you? First day, you introduce yourself to everyone. You ask good questions in meetings. You volunteer for a small, visible project. Within 1 week, you're the new person who's already making an impact. Notice the difference. The person who waits to be noticed might be talented, but nobody's looking. The person who creates a strong first impression gets attention, opportunity, and respect before they've even proven anything. This doesn't mean being arrogant. This means understanding that perception creates reality. Think about this in every new situation. New relationship? The first month defines everything. New project? The first meeting sets expectations. New business? The first customers determine your reputation. Here's another way this shows up. Someone makes a mistake in their first week. Everyone remembers. Someone does great work after 6 months of being invisible. Nobody notices. Why? Because the narrative was already written. Smart people understand that rewriting a narrative takes 10 times more effort than writing it correctly the first time. When you practice this law, you start every new situation strategically. You don't hope people will see your value. You show them exactly what you want them to see, immediately. Remember this, first impressions aren't superficial, they're structural. They determine everything that comes after. The people who control their first impression control their entire trajectory.
Law number 6. Use cruelty once. This is one of the most misunderstood principles. People think Machiavelli was saying, be cruel. He wasn't. He was saying something much more strategic. Machiavelli says, if you must hurt someone, do it quickly, completely, and then immediately shift to kindness. Think about a manager who needs to fire multiple people. They have 2 options: fire 1 person per month for 6 months, or fire everyone needed in 1 day. Which do you think creates more fear? Which destroys morale more? Here's what happens in most situations. A leader needs to make difficult decisions. They try to be kind by spreading out the pain. They make small cuts over time. They slowly remove people. And the result? The entire organization lives in constant fear. Productivity dies. Trust disappears. Because everyone knows more pain is coming, but they don't know when. Smart people understand that prolonged pain is worse than sharp pain. If you need to fire 5 people, fire them all at once. Have 1 terrible day, then it's over. Then you can rebuild. Let's say you're ending a partnership. Most people do it slowly. They gradually reduce communication. They slowly pull back. They stretch the ending over months. And everyone suffers the whole time. Notice the difference. The person who drags out difficult decisions creates constant anxiety. The person who acts decisively creates 1 bad moment, followed by relief and clarity. This doesn't mean being unnecessarily cruel. This means understanding that if pain is inevitable, quick pain is kinder than slow pain. Think about this in your personal life. You know a relationship needs to end. Do you do it cleanly and immediately, or do you let it die slowly over months? The slow death hurts everyone more. Here's another example. You're managing a team. Someone isn't working out. You know they need to go.
Do you have the hard conversation immediately, or do you give them one more chance every month for 6 months? The extended uncertainty hurts them and the team. Smart people understand that decisiveness, even when it hurts, is more respectful than prolonged uncertainty. When you practice this law, difficult decisions become cleaner. You don't torture people with slow cuts. You make the decision once, execute completely, and move forward. Remember this: one sharp cut heals. 1,000 small cuts become permanent wounds. The people who try to be kind by avoiding pain create more suffering than the people who act decisively.
Law number 7. Never rely on luck. Here's a question that separates powerful people from everyone else. If everything you have right now disappeared tomorrow, could you rebuild? Machiavelli says, "Fortune gets you started, skill keeps you there." Think about people who inherit wealth, or get a lucky break, or stumble into an opportunity. What happens to most of them 5 years later? Back where they started. Why? Because they relied on circumstances instead of building capability. Here's what happens in most careers. Someone gets a great opportunity, right place, right time. They get promoted, they get a big client, they get lucky, and they think, "I made it." But they never built the skills to sustain it. Smart people use luck as a starting point, not a destination. When they get a break, they immediately focus on building the skills that make luck unnecessary. Let's say you get promoted because your boss left and you were the only option. That's luck. What do most people do? Enjoy the promotion and hope it works out. But you spend the next 6 months learning everything you don't know. You build relationships you didn't have. You develop skills you lack. You turn luck into skill. Notice the difference. The person who relies on luck stays where luck put them until luck changes. The person who builds skill keeps rising even when luck runs out. This doesn't mean rejecting good fortune. This means understanding that fortune without skill is temporary. Think about this everywhere. You get a great client because someone referred you. That's luck. What matters is whether you're good enough to keep them and get more. You land a relationship because of timing. That's luck. What matters is whether you're good enough to sustain it. Here's another way to see this. When something good happens to you, ask, "Did this happen because I'm skilled or because I was lucky?" If it's luck, immediately start building the skill that makes you deserve it. Smart people understand that the most dangerous position is being successful because of circumstances you don't control. Because when circumstances change, you fall. When you practice this law, you stop hoping for breaks. You build capabilities that create opportunities regardless of circumstances. Remember this. Lucky people rise and fall with fortune. Skilled people rise and stay there. The difference is whether you control your success or success controls you.
Law number 8. Study successful people. Here's something that will save you years of wasted effort. Every problem you're facing, someone else already solved. Every goal you have, someone else already reached. Every mistake you're about to make, someone else already made. Machiavelli says, "A wise man walks in paths beaten by great men." Think about how most people try to succeed. They figure it out as they go. They learn from their own mistakes. They invent solutions from scratch. And they waste years learning lessons that were already learned. Here's what happens in most careers. Someone wants to build a business. They start with no research. They make every mistake possible. They learn the hard way.
10 years later, they've figured out what successful people could have told them on day one. Smart people study winners first. They look at people who already have what they want. They analyze exactly how they got there. They copy the strategy, skip the mistakes, and get results in half the time. Let's say you want to get promoted. Most people work hard and hope, but you study the people who got promoted in the last 2 years. What projects did they lead? Who did they build relationships with? What skills did they develop? Then you do exactly that. Notice the difference. The person who figures it out alone takes 10 years to learn. The person who studies success takes 2 years to copy. This doesn't mean plagiarism. This means recognizing that success leaves patterns. Think about this everywhere. You want to improve your health? Don't invent your own diet. Study people who already transformed. Copy what worked. You want to build wealth? Don't guess. Study wealthy people. Find the pattern. You want better relationships? Study people who have what you want. Learn what they do differently. Here's another example. You're struggling with a challenge at work. Instead of trying 20 solutions, ask yourself, who in this company has already solved this? Then talk to them. Learn their solution. Apply it. Done. Smart people understand that every hour spent studying success saves months of trial and error. When you practice this law, you stop seeing successful people as competition. You see them as blueprints. Their path is your map. Remember this. Original thinking is overrated. Strategic copying is underrated. The people who insist on learning everything themselves are still learning. The people who study success are already winning.
Law number 9. Build on others' foundations. Here's a truth about power that most people resist. Every system you see, someone built it. Every hierarchy you're in, someone created it. And the question isn't whether to fight the system. The question is whether to use it or be used by it. Machiavelli says, "Work within the structure that exists, then reshape it once you're inside." Think about people who try to change everything on day one. New job, new project, new team. They show up saying, "Here's what we're going to do differently." And what happens? The existing structure crushes them. Here's what happens in most situations. Someone joins a company. They see obvious problems. They immediately propose changes. And they get shut down, sidelined, or ignored. Why? Because they're fighting the foundation instead of building on it. Smart people do the opposite. They enter existing structures, they learn the rules, they make themselves valuable within the current system, and then, once they have power, they change the rules. Let's say you join a team with bad processes. Most people say, "These processes are terrible, we need to change them." And nobody listens. But you follow the existing process perfectly. You become the person who makes the current system work. Then, once you're trusted, you say, "I know how to make this better." Now, people listen. Notice the difference. The person who fights the system gets labeled as difficult. The person who masters the system first gets trusted to change it. This doesn't mean accepting bad systems forever. This means understanding that you need power within a system before you can change it. Think about this politically. Revolutionary leaders don't start by overthrowing everything. They work within existing structures. They build credibility. They accumulate power. Then they reshape things from a position of strength. Here's another way this shows up. You have a boss with a specific way of working. You think it's inefficient. What do most people do? They try to change the boss's mind. But you adapt to their style first. You become someone they trust. Then you gradually introduce improvements. Smart people understand that fighting foundations is exhausting. Building on foundations is efficient. And reshaping foundations requires being inside first. When you practice this law, you stop wasting energy on battles you can't win. You position yourself strategically. You master the existing game, and then you change the rules. Remember this: revolutionaries who attack systems from outside usually lose. Leaders who master systems from inside usually win. The difference is whether you have power when you try to change things.
Law number 10. Remove rival power centers. This is subtle, but it's critical. You can build your own power perfectly, but if competing power centers exist, they'll eventually challenge you. And either you eliminate them, or they eliminate you. Machiavelli says, "A prince must have no other object than war and the removal of rivals." Think about corporate structures. There's the official org chart, but there's also the unofficial power structure. The person everyone goes to for decisions, the team that controls resources, the manager with CEO access. These are power centers. Here's what happens in most situations. Someone builds their own authority. They get promoted. They have a team. They have responsibility. But there's another team, another manager, another power center that competes for the same resources, the same influence, the same decisions. Smart people identify these competing centers early, and they systematically neutralize them. Not through confrontation, through strategic positioning. Let's say you're a director. There's another director who controls a related function. Every time you try to launch something, they block it or slow it down. Most people either fight openly or give up. But you build a relationship with their boss. You position your work as supporting theirs. You slowly absorb their function into yours through reorganization. Notice the difference. The person who fights directly creates drama. The person who strategically neutralizes competition wins quietly. This doesn't mean sabotaging people. This means understanding that two competing authorities in the same space is unstable. Eventually, one will dominate. Make sure it's you. Think about this in any organizational context. Multiple people claiming the same territory. Multiple teams doing similar work. Multiple voices trying to lead the same direction. This never ends well. Someone has to win. Here's another example. You're building a personal brand. There's someone else in your space with similar positioning. What do most people do? Ignore them and hope there's room for both. But you either differentiate so completely you're not competing, or you position yourself so far ahead they can't catch up. Smart people understand that shared power is unstable power. Concentrated power is stable power. When you practice this law, you start seeing your environment politically. Where are the competing centers? Which ones threaten you? How do you neutralize them before they neutralize you? Remember this: you don't need to destroy everyone, but you do need to make sure competing power centers can't challenge your authority. The people who tolerate rivals usually become the rival that got tolerated.
Law number 11. Act boldly in chaos. Here's when most people fail at power. Everything's going wrong, the situation is unstable, nothing's clear. And what do? They freeze, they wait, they hope things stabilize. Machiavelli says, fortune favors the bold, especially during chaos. Think about every major crisis you've seen: economic downturn, company restructuring, industry disruption. What happens to most people? They panic, they try to survive, they make themselves small. Here's what happens in most situations. Crisis hits, everyone's scared, resources are limited, attention is scattered, and people wait for someone to fix it. They wait for clarity, they wait for stability. Smart people do the opposite. When everyone else freezes, they move. They see chaos as opportunity. Because during chaos, the normal rules don't apply. The gatekeepers are distracted, the old powers are weakened, and bold moves that would never work in stable times become possible. Let's say your company is going through layoffs. Most people keep their heads down and hope to survive. But you volunteer to lead the reorganization. You take on projects no one else wants. You make yourself essential during the crisis. 6 months later, when everything stabilizes, you're 3 levels higher. Notice the difference. The person who hides during chaos stays where they were. The person who acts during chaos rises because everyone else was frozen. This doesn't mean taking stupid risks. This means recognizing that while others are paralyzed, you have opportunity. Think about any unstable situation. Market crash. What do smart investors do? Buy when everyone's selling. Relationship crisis. What do smart people do? Communicate when everyone's running. Industry disruption. What do smart companies do? Innovate when everyone's defending. Here's another example. Your boss just quit. The team is in chaos. Most people worry about who the new boss will be. But you step up. You handle the boss's responsibilities temporarily. You prove you can do it. When they hire someone new, it might be you. Smart people understand that stable times reward the status quo. Chaotic times reward the bold. When you practice this law, you stop fearing instability. You see it as the moment when the game resets and new winners emerge. Remember this: fortune isn't random. It favors those who act when others hesitate. The people who wait for perfect conditions never find them. The people who move during chaos create the conditions they want. Law number 12. Be both fox and lion. This is Machiavelli's most famous lesson, and it's the hardest to master, because it requires 2 opposite qualities at the same time. Machiavelli says, the prince must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Think about people you know who are purely one or the other. The person who's all strength but no strategy. The person who's all cunning but no force. What happens to them? Here's what happens in most situations. Someone relies entirely on being smart. They outthink everyone. They're strategic. They're clever. But when they face someone willing to use force, they lose. Or someone relies entirely on being strong. They dominate. They intimidate. But when they face someone smarter, they walk into traps. Smart people understand you need both. You need the fox to see danger coming, and you need the lion to destroy it when it arrives. Let's say you're negotiating. The fox part of you reads the room, notices what they're not saying, sees the trap they're setting, understands the hidden game. But the lion part of you knows when to be firm, when to refuse, when to walk away, when to use your leverage.
Notice the difference? The person who's only clever gets pushed around by stronger people. The person who's only strong gets outsmarted by clever people. The person who's both becomes unstoppable. This doesn't mean switching between them randomly. This means knowing which to use when. Think about your career. Sometimes you need the fox. Navigate politics, read the unspoken rules, build alliances quietly. But sometimes you need the lion. Demand what you're worth, refuse to be disrespected, make bold moves. Here's another way to see this. The fox avoids fights you don't need. The lion wins fights you can't avoid. Together, they make you someone nobody wants to challenge. Here's a specific example. Someone's trying to undermine you at work. The fox part recognizes it early, sees the pattern, documents everything, builds your case. But the lion part confronts them directly when the time is right, doesn't tolerate it, makes consequences clear. Smart people understand that being only strategic makes you weak. Being only strong makes you blind. Being both makes you powerful. When you practice this law, you develop two instincts. One that says, see the danger. Another that says, end the threat. You become someone who's rarely surprised and rarely defeated. Remember this. The fox without the lion gets eaten. The lion without the fox gets trapped. But the person who masters both becomes someone others fear and respect in equal measure.
Here's what you need to understand. Power isn't evil. Powerlessness is dangerous. Right now, while you've been learning these laws, someone who already knows them is using them against people who don't. Manipulative people are exploiting those who believe in fairness. Strategic people are positioning themselves above those who think good intentions matter more than results. The choice is simple. Become someone who understands power, or remain someone who gets dominated by those who do. You've learned 12 laws, but laws without action are worthless. So here's what you do right now. Pick one law, just one, and use it this week. Don't try all 12, that's how you do nothing. Master one, then the next, then the next. If this woke something up in you, if you're done being overlooked, prove it. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Subscribe, because these laws are just the beginning. And remember what you declared. I refuse to stay powerless. Now, stop refusing. Start acting. Because while you're deciding whether to be strategic people already made their move. The game is happening, whether you play or not. The only question is, are you winning or being played?